Hello friends, welcome back to all about structural analysis and design. So if you have gone through my channel and if you have seen the playlist of RCC, you find there the design of singly reinforced beam, analysis of beams, then what is doubly reinforced beam, then footings, then slabs. So till now I have not covered anything about the column part, and due to the great demand from the subscribers, so I have decided to complete the columns part entirely with the different combinations of this columns. So basically, what is column? So the first question I will write here is, what is column? Okay, so the easiest of the thing which will come into your mind is, it is a vertical member, right? It is a vertical member. So whenever the column word comes, then immediately what comes in your mind is, it is a vertical member. It is nothing but like this. It is standing, the vertical member. Then if you go into the depth of your RCC knowledge, then you can find that loads are coming onto it like this, the vertical loads. Then immediately what you can find here is, these loads are compressing the vertical members. So it is a compressive member. So this lecture will be about what is columns, then why we provide reinforcement to the columns, then again how many different types of loads coming onto it, and what is meant by eccentricity. So overall idea I will be giving into this lecture, and from henceforth the next 3 to 4 lectures will be completely based on numerical problems. So before moving on to numerical problems, I found that it is very important to know the basic concepts of column. So the question was, what is column? So we have given the two simple definitions, that is it is a vertical member. Then after vertical member, I have told you that the axial force is coming, that vertical force is coming onto that vertical member, therefore it is known as a compressive member. So again, third point also you can write, the major stresses coming onto is, major stress is compressive stress. Correct? So these are the three basic points you have to remember when it is asked what is meant by column. Here you have to remember, not all vertical members are known as columns. Correct? All the vertical members are not known as columns. Then what is the criteria? So that criteria is nothing but, when the effective length of vertical member, I will mention here because it is very important to mention vertical member. When effective length of vertical member exceeds 3 times the least lateral dimension, 3 times the least lateral dimension. So step by step we are going. So the first immediate question was, what is column? Then we have defined it with 3 points. Then we also know it that all vertical members are not columns. Then the criteria. Then this is the criteria to say a vertical member will function as a column. So effective length of vertical member exceeds 3 times the least lateral dimension. So some of you again get confused here, what is meant by least lateral dimension. So I will clear that one. So suppose this is your column section. So this is your width B and this is your depth D. So here if you see, the least dimension is B, and our criteria says when the effective length of vertical member exceeds 3 times the least lateral dimension. So it should exceed, the length should exceed 3 times of this least lateral dimension B. Suppose, for example, B is equals to 300 mm. Okay, for example, I am just taking this. So this B is 300 mm. So then the length, effective length should be at least 3 times the least lateral dimension. So it will become 900 mm. So it should be at least 900 mm, or it should be above 900 mm to consider that vertical member as a column. So this is the main criteria you have to remember how we can identify a vertical member as a column. So I think I have cleared this criteria. So these are the important points you have to remember. So now with your basic concrete technology concept, concrete is good in compression. Concrete is good in compression, right? So in depth also we have discussed what is meant by RCC. There I have discussed this, what is concrete and why it is good in compression. The column you are saying it is a compressive member. Then why reinforcement is required? Then why reinforcement is required? So this is the next again question will come into your mind. So when you say column is a compressive member, compression member, right? But minimum steel has to be provided. But minimum steel has to be provided. Why it is provided? To assist in carrying direct loads, to assist in carrying direct loads, right? Then to resist tensile stresses. Steel is good in tension. So again with the basics of your MT lab, steel is good in tension, and to resist tensile stresses you use this minimum steel. So it doesn't mean that if all the vertical loads coming onto the column will have only compressive stress. No, it will also have a tensile stress, and to cater that tensile stress you have to provide steel in your column. And to resist moment when there is eccentricity in column. So this is again very important. So to resist moment, when there is eccentricity it will create moment. So to resist that moment created by the eccentricity you have to provide the steel. So next again what you can say is to impart ductility. To impart ductility. So this is also very important because the concrete is brittle in nature, and the brittle failure is not expected in the RCC structures. So therefore to improve its ductility we use steel in the column. To prevent sudden brittle failure. To prevent sudden brittle failure. That also we have to take care. So these are the 5 points you have to remember when they ask a question that why steel is important even though the column is a compressive member. So I hope I have cleared these doubts. Now mainly the column will be of 3 types. 3 types of columns based on load and bending. So the first type is axially loaded columns. Axially loaded columns. Axial load with uniaxial bending. Then third is axial load with biaxial bending. Okay, if you see carefully here, all the 3 types have axial load. It means the load coming is the vertical load. But the difference is it may have uniaxial bending, or it may have biaxial bending, or it may not have any bending at all, which is known as axially loaded columns. But practically this is very rare, or this is practically impossible to have axially loaded columns. So therefore we have the next 2 cases, that is with uniaxial bending or with biaxial bending. Before that, we shall see what is meant by this axial load. So axial load is a simple vertical load passing through the centroid of a member. So axial load is a vertical load passing through centroid of section. Axial load is nothing but a vertical load passing through centroid of section. So now axial load has 2 types. So the first one is known as concentric load. Second is eccentric load. Okay. So I will explain one by one. So I will take here one section here, and these are the x and y axis. If your load is acting at this center, okay, that it is known as concentric load. And here, if it is your member and these are the axis, and if your load is acting here, then this creates a eccentricity, and therefore it is known as eccentric load. So in axial there are 2 types, concentric and eccentric. Now practically rare case to have axially loaded column. Okay, so therefore IS code recommends minimum of 20 mm eccentricity. Has to be considered. Why this eccentricity has to be considered? Because you may not have a practically the case where the load is exactly coinciding with the centroid. This is because it may be due to materials, or it may be due to poor workmanship, or it may be with various reasons you cannot have a perfect load which is passing to that centroid. So therefore the minimum eccentricity has to be provided, and the IS code recommends, that is IS 456-2000 recommends minimum of 20 mm eccentricity, and then only we have to design a column. So now the second part, this axial load with uniaxial bending. So what is meant by this? So again I will take here one section. So these are the axes, okay, and this is your load P. So this creates a eccentricity E, correct, and this P and E will give rise to moment, that is mu is equals to pu into E. So U means I have taken this ultimate moment, okay, and the bending takes place any of the axis, right? So bending may take place in any of the axis because there is a eccentricity created. So this P and E will give rise to moment, and this will give rise to bending, and that bending may occur in any of the axis. So it is occurring only at one axis. Any of the axis means one axis. So that's why it is known as uniaxial bending. So the next third type is axial load with biaxial bending. So again one section will take, so this time little big section I will take. So these are the axes. Now what happens, the load will act somewhere here. This is your P. So it is neither acting along any axis or it is not passing through the centroid. So automatically this will give rise to a eccentricity along this x-axis and along this y-axis. So this is known as EY and this is EX. So it will create two eccentricities for the column. And in the previous case we have seen the moment is generated when there is a load and there is a eccentricity. So here in this case there are two eccentricities. So mx pu into ex and my pu into ey. So there are two eccentricities and it will create two moments. Therefore bending along both the axis, therefore known as biaxial bending. So this was the brief theory and the brief explanation about the columns. When it is considered it as a column, then why we provide reinforcement, and what are the types of axial loads, and what are the different types of bending will come into this column. In the next coming lectures we will be starting with the numericals for all the three cases. We will also solve for axially loaded column also, and then we'll see how to calculate the or how to design a column with uniaxial bending and biaxial bending with the help of the design charts of IS 456. So stay tuned for the next lectures. Thank you friends.